City Councilman John Nustad has been in the mortgage and banking industry for more than 10 years. He helps consumers and partners better understand finance, the changing economy, and how it can impact people's lives. John Nustad serves on the Kilgore College Foundation Board. He is an active member of the Longview Area Association of Realtors, Longview Chamber of Commerce, Gregton Rotary, and the First United Methodist Church of Longview. Mr. Nustad previously served as the president for Boys and Girls Club of Big Pines and City of Longview Senior Advisory Council and Longview Housing Authority. In 2022, he was a finalist for the East Texas Views 40 Under 40 for banking and lending. In 2019, Mr. Nustad was awarded Affiliate of the Year by the Longview Area Association of Realtors and is a Longview Chamber of Commerce's Leadership Longview graduate. He founded the Longview Book Club, which has hosted local authors like Matthew McConaughey, Joe Lansdale, and May Cobb. Mr. Nustad received his bachelor's degree in business administration from the University of Texas at Arlington and associate's degree from Kilgore College. He lives in Longview, Texas with his wife, 2 children, and 2 dogs. And today, John will be our guest speaker for the first Lobo Talks session for parents. He will be talking about steps to financial health. Now, please pay attention to the following session because the information that he shares is extremely valuable and it can literally change your financial health forever. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome John Nustad.
So appreciate you having me here. I'm honored to be able to speak to the LISD parents, Go Lobos. And so honored to be here. And we're here to talk to you today about steps to financial health, right? So here's the bottom line on financial health. Spend less than you make. Okay, we're done. Thanks. All right. No, it sounds easy. That's really, it's as easy as it gets. But there's more to it, and that's kind of what I wanted to educate y'all today and help y'all understand the different steps that you need to go through to be able to have great financial health. So first off, most people don't know this, but who wants to be poor? Raise your hand.
Nobody.
Who wants to be rich?
Everybody.
Who wants to be wealthy? Who here knows the difference? All right. So most people, when they think about what they want to be, they think they want to be rich. Okay. So here's the kind of the difference between the poor, the rich, and the wealthy. You got to understand this first to understand how to have financial health. All right. The first, poor spend money to buy stuff. Okay. They want the Jordans, they want the Starbucks, they want those different things. They want to eat out. They're buying stuff. Okay. The rich, they buy liabilities. Okay. They get the car. They get the house. They get any of those student loans, any of those kind of things that require buying of liabilities. So basically, you're spending money before you have it, and you're using that to pay it to get the items you want. The wealthy, they buy assets. Okay, they buy assets, which in turn generate more money for them, and that's what they spend their money on. So those that are driving the fancy cars, live in the fancy houses, those that are having that, they may be rich, but they're just like the poor. They're spending their money and buying stuff to get it. The wealthy are different. They buy assets. Okay, so knowing that distinction makes a big choice and how you do it. And the reason why, if you're given the proposition, the choice between being rich or wealthy, choose wealthy, because the problem with being rich is the only thing you have to trade is your time. Okay? And so if you're trading your time to buy stuff, well, in turn, you only have a finite amount of time, you only have a finite amount of energy. So it's a poor proposition. Where wealthy is able to generate income continuously without requiring their time or their effort. All right. So then, what's the easiest way to earn $1 million? You know? What's the easiest way? John?
Oh, sell stuff.
Sell stuff, okay? The easiest way to earn $1 million is start with $999,000. That's the easiest way to earn $1 million, okay? So with that said, like, who am I to give you advice on your personal finances and on your financial health? Like, what do I, kind of give you a little bit of backstory of who I am and on that. So Francisco gave me a great introduction recently. So I, have 10 plus years of banking and lending experience. So most of my career is done in retail finance, all right? So I've done everything from being a personal banker to a small business specialist to a branch manager to wealth management to commercial lending to mortgage lending, okay? And over those 10 plus years, I've helped thousands of people with their finances, or I've seen over 1,000 people with their thousands of people with their finances. So I've been able, I'm able to see and witness and study the behaviors of the poor, the rich, and the wealthy. And that allows me to have a unique perspective as well. Now, also, I didn't start with $999,000, right? I was raised here in a trailer park in Longview, okay? I went to school here in Longview and then went to high school at Gilmer. I went to community college at Kilgore College and got my business degree from University of Texas at Arlington, all right? So I'm community made. Like I was, raised in East Texas, went to school in East Texas and did all that. So, and with that, even going through school, I worked 60 hours a week and put myself through school. And you got to understand, when I graduated, I didn't have any student loan debt. Okay? I graduated, this was during the whole beginning or part of what's known as the student loan bubble, right? We know about student loan debt now. So that was going on where they were giving out money, all this money to everybody to go take out all this money from student loans. All my peers and my classmates, and they were all taking out the student loans, living a nice lifestyle, getting the college experience. And I wouldn't really know financial education, but I realized the math doesn't add up to me. Like I don't understand how you can get $200,000 in debt when you're going to graduate making $60,000 a year. It just didn't make sense. And so I did not fall into that trap. My own personal knowledge, my own understanding of finance allowed me to avoid that mistake. So to kind of give you that little bit of reason, the background is just to know where I come from. And my wife and I have been very blessed and fortunate in our life. So hopefully you take that with what it is on there too as well. So one of the things that you have to do, let me ask you this real quick actually. Why are you not wealthy? Does anybody have any reason why that?
Bad decisions in the past.
Bad decisions? So choices you made?
Yeah.
What led to those poor choices?
Debt.
Debt, okay. Well, the debt just didn't happen to you. So what happened? How did that decision of debt happen?
Emotions got
Okay.
in the way.
Emotions? All right. So you're going there. If we dig a little bit more into the whys, we get to the 3 whys. It boils down to mindset. Okay, that's the thing we got to get over first. Like we got to get over your mindset first. Okay, if you believe that money is evil, then you're not going to be wealthy, and you're going to subconsciously or even consciously sabotage yourself for that. And there's many people that have that mindset that wealth, that money is evil and all this kind of stuff. So you got to find out, look at it as like, all right, is this a religious ideology I have? Do I find myself saying that wealthy people are evil? Do I find, do I feel guilty for having money? Those are the kind of questions you ask is to know, okay, is my mindset where I feel that money is evil and not the love of money is evil, but money itself is evil? Money is indifferent, right? Money is a tool. Money is, it's good or bad depending on, the character that has it, right? So that lesson, if that's something that if you are in that category, that's going to take way too long for me to kind of to help you with that kind of mindset. So we'll skip over that one. All right, we'll start there. So if you have that one, definitely look at options to help with that. But the second reason is Second reason on mindset is you don't believe that you should have money. And that's the majority of people. They don't believe they should have money. Okay? They didn't come from the correct socioeconomic. They don't have the right education. They're not in the right career. I chose to, be in education. We're not going to be rich. And that kind of deal, right? So they don't believe they should have it. They're too young. I talked about the college kids. You know what? I'm young. I got all this time. We're told that we have all this time to make the mistakes because then we can make it back later, right? I'm too young to have money. Then you get to the point where you're too young. Then you start having kids. You start, working, having responsibilities. Now you're too broke. And then you're too broke, and now later you're too old. Now I'm too old to start. I'm already this age, and I can't make it there. So those are mindset issues that you got to get around. If you don't get around the mindset problems first, you're not going to be able to do anything to be able to become wealthy because you're your own trap in that. All right. So with that, kind of to help eliminate that issue too. All right. So I like to call it the lean purse syndrome. Okay. And so who here has a lean purse, right? Don't really answer it, but we all raise our hand. We all have a lean purse, right? We're all there. So okay, if we all have lean purses, okay, then the problem isn't how much money we have or how much money we earn, right? We have varying degrees of education in here. We have varying degrees of household size. We have varying degrees of intelligence. We have varying degrees of health, abilities, disabilities, strengths, weakness. So if we all have all this varying degrees, somebody could be making the same exact amount of money, different household size, different things, but yet you both have lean purses, then it's not an income problem, right? So you got to get over that. It's not the lack of money for the reason why you don't have money. Okay? So go in there. Now how do we change our mindset? So the main reason is the main way to do is study the successful people. So to be able to develop my positive mindset around money is I studied successful people that were great at what they did as far as money. And I took my advice from those people and I made sure that it was good sound advice, and I avoided and didn't pay attention to the other people's advice. All right, so let's go over some statistics. So this is from Everyday Millionaire, which was a study done by Dave Ramsey's group with Chris Hogan. All right, so let's see who the millionaires are. Okay, Everyday Millionaires, 79% of millionaires did not receive any inheritance at all from their parents or family members. So they didn't inherit their money. They didn't start out with $999,000. Right? 8 out of 10 millionaires come from families at or below middle income level. Okay? Only 2% of millionaire surveys said they came from an upper income family. 2% came from an upper income family. Right? All right. 93% of millionaires said they got their wealth because they worked hard, not because they had big salaries. Only 31% averaged $100,000 a year over the course of their career, and 33% never made six figures in any single working year of their career. So majority of them did not have high salaries. There's actually one with the top 5 professions, and I can't remember what they all are, but the number one was like engineer. Second was teachers, as a number of millionaires, like job occupation. The top 5, I can't remember all of them. One was in business professional, and the other. But of all the top 5 of the most likely careers of millionaires, doctors wasn't even in it. Doctors wasn't even in the top 5. Highest earning income career that we normally say off of, and yet they're not even the top 5 of wealthiest careers. All right, so teachers are in there. So there you go. All right. 80% of millionaires invested in their company's 401k plan. Not only that, but 3 out of 4 of those surveyed also invested outside of company plans. All right, so 80% invested in retirement plans. All right, but you got to go there. 3 out of 4 kept going beyond that too. No millionaire in the Ramsey study said single stock investing was a big factor in their financial success. Single stocks didn't even make the top 3 list of factors for reaching their net worth. So it wasn't they bought Amazon in 1999. They bought Apple when they did. They're not. That does not exist. Your Bitcoin millionaires, That's all a facade that's out there to help them get you to spend more money on their stuff, right? All right. The degree itself is what matters, not where the degree comes from. Almost 2/3 of millionaires graduated from public state schools, while only 8% went to prestigious private schools. Okay, so 2% came from upper income families. Only 8% went to a prestigious private school. All right, 88% of millionaires graduated from college compared to 38% of the general population. So having a degree does matter, right? Now, you go through this stuff. This is my wife and I tailor-made. We went to community college. We didn't come from upper middle income families. This fits us to a T. Also, so don't make where you're coming from, your socioeconomic status, that's not a limiting factor in your financial health. All right, so the other thing is now what we find out is people have goals. They have money goals, right? They want that dream house, they want that dream car, they want those clothes, they want, whatever that may be. Or it could be they want that promotion, or they want that job, or they want whatever that is, right? Or if they could just make this much money as an annual deal, then they will have and achieve what they want. But the problem is most people have set these goals without actually knowing what their values are. Okay? So you have to identify your top 5 values. You got to. You start there. That's the first thing you do. Okay, you got a great mindset. Now you find your values. You identify your top 5 values. What are those top 5 values? And then you make goals that are oriented with those values. Okay? And so once you identify that, you got to. So all success begins with definitiveness of purpose. So we can better handle discomfort. So not spending money here, not buying our Starbucks because we're doing this. We can better handle discomfort whenever it's aligned with a goal. And then it's not that you don't have to, but you get to do that. Okay, it ain't giving up, but giving for. When your values are clear, your decision making becomes easier to do. All right. So I'll give you a good example of this, and that's something, if I had to ask you, what is the greatest wealth destroyer in America? What would you say the greatest wealth destroyer in America is? All right. So the greatest wealth destroyer in America is automobiles. We love our automobiles in America, don't we? Part of the freedom, 1960s, it's kind of that deal. We love our automobiles. Now, it's the greatest wealth destroyer in America, and here's why. Because it's a depreciating asset. So a depreciating asset means something that goes down in value, right? So you're buying it, it's worth this. Now, later on, future, it's worth less, right? That's a depreciating asset. All right, so overall, auto loan debt is the 3rd largest debt behind mortgages and student loans. Overall, Americans owe $1.56 trillion in auto loan debt. Okay, $1.56 trillion. Okay, what that means is, if it's a depreciating asset, most automobiles are depreciated out maybe 8 to 10 years, probably around that time period. So in 8 to 10 years, $1.56 trillion is gone, no longer there. All right. Then, on average, Americans take out $53.9 billion in new auto loans each month. Imagine $53.9 billion. What if we were investing $53.9 billion each month instead of paying that? All right. So to answer that question, here's what it'll look like on an individual level. The average auto loan term is 68.6 months, and the average car payment for new cars is $729 a month. All right. So the average car loan is 6 years? All right. We just said they depreciate it out about 8 to 10 probably. Now you get there and you have average car payment for new cars is $729 a month. All right. So let's say we put that money in the S&P 500. That averages a 9.89% return over the last 30 years. Here's what we'd have. All right. So total dollars that would be spent would be $262,440. Okay. The foregone interest, that if you were to invest that $262,000 over that time period, the foregone interest earnings return is $824,000. So that $200,000 costs you $800,000. Is the cars worth it? So what is your real cost of your expenditure? $1,086,000 is how much that car is costing you. All right? So just imagine there, if we could just eliminate that, where we'd be. So to give you an example, and this is also part of the Dave Ramsey thing too, the number one cars is that millionaires drive is Hondas. That's one of the brands that they drive. They're not driving the premier cars. So my wife and I, we have a 2009 Honda Fit. Okay, has I think 280,000 miles on it, and but that we drive that now. Why do I drive a 2009 Honda Fit? I could afford other vehicles. I could afford 100 times whatever vehicle you want me to buy, right? But the reason why I drive it is because does that vehicle align with my values? What are my 5 values? If I told you my 5 values, I don't want to give you my 5 values because I don't want that to deter you from creating your 5 values or influence yours, right? But it doesn't fit in my 5. So why would I spend the money on that? That would fit other much better values, and I'd get much more joy out of that by doing other things. So do that. Make smart goals that align with your values, okay? All right. So then, all right, John, that's great. You got my mindset right. I got my values. They're aligned with my goals and everything else. So now what do I do? All right. So the main thing you got to learn is becoming wealthy is intentional. It doesn't just happen to you, okay? Being poor can happen to you. That can happen. And that's why most people are poor, because it can just happen. But being wealthy cannot just happen to you. You have to be intentional. Give and invest first and spend what's left, okay? The poor and the rich spend first. They give and invest what's left. You have to be intentional. You got to change it to where you're giving and investing first, and you got to make it a priority. And the reason why is we have unlimited needs and wants. Okay? So this idea of we can just earn more money and we can fix our problems is not going to change anything. We have unlimited needs and wants. You're never going to satisfy that. So you have to prioritize those. And so instead of buying your Jordans, buy Nike stock. Right? Instead of buying Tesla the car, buy the Tesla stock. Right? Change your way your mentality goes. Why do I want to own Jordans when I can own Nike? Why would I want to do that? Why do I want to go to Disneyland when I can own Disney? Right? Now you got to think about those different things and change your mindset to what you want to do. And the miracle of discipline is that in strictness you create freedom. And only the disciplined ones in life are free. All right? So that goes to, like the undisciplined are slaves to their moods, appetites, and passions. As Dave Ramsey says, you will either learn to manage money or the lack of it will manage you. So that's where we get into budgeting, right? Budgeting, the bad word, right? The 6 letters that we want to rinse our mouth out with soap after we say it, right? It's a great thing. It actually creates more freedom. It actually allows you to do more stuff. It tells your money where to go. So we already established we don't have an income problem, we have a spending problem. This is interesting. So the greatest wealth destroyer in America is auto loans. It's at 1.56 trillion. It's about to be defeated by credit cards. Credit cards for the first time hit over $1 trillion. Over $1 trillion in credit card debt. Okay? So now that when we get to credit cards, it's much better to have a depreciating asset than credit card debt. Okay? All right. So what do I create around a budget, right? The best budget is the one you will stick to. That is the best budget. The one that you'll stick to is the best budget that you can do. And the best one that I find, and the way I say you need to create a budget at least, is it's called every dollar budgeting. Okay, Dave Ramsey has a tool on that. The every dollar budgeting is great because it tells every dollar where to go. So money flows like water. It's going to take the path of least resistance. If you don't tell it where to go, you're going to wonder where it went. So every dollar budgeting, you're tracking every single dollar, and then you'll know where it's at. And then you need to automate your investing. You need to take yourself out of the equation as much as you possibly can. The more you can automate that, because if I have to manually send X amount of money to invest every month, I'm much less likely to do it than if it was automatically done and it takes me out of the equation. So you got to automate that. And also with that, you got to have an emergency fund first before you start any of that. Because if you don't have an emergency fund, you're going to derail your discipline and all the work that you're putting into to work on your budget. And then you're going to get discouraged whenever that happens, right? You fall off your diet, and then you're just like, you go downhill and you're off the rails, right? So create an emergency fund, have that set up, and your emergency fund is not your credit card. It's not your credit card, okay? That's not the purpose of a credit card. It's not your emergency fund. Have that set aside, because if you don't have an emergency fund and you have an emergency, you now have two emergencies. You don't have one emergency, you have two. Right? You have the emergency that you have to deal with, whatever that may be. Then you have the emergency of not having the money. So now you've created two emergencies from that one emergency. Double the stress, double the worry, double the anxiety, all that stuff. All right. Then step 4 is now you get to invest, right? Now before you invest, I will say this, you have to not have any credit card debt, no hard money loans. Anything that your interest rate is higher than your anticipated return on your investment, then that's not going to be a good choice for you. Okay, it's best to get rid of any credit card debt or hard money loans that you may have to that extent. Okay, so give you some statistics on how this works. Right, so for households, net worth includes both real assets such as property and then also financial assets like stocks and bonds. Okay, that's what makes up households' net worth, okay? So lower middle class net worth is 90% in their primary residence. 90% of their net worth is in their primary residence for your low middle class. The middle class is 66% of their net worth is in their primary residence. And the upper middle class, their net worth is 50% in their primary residence. Okay, so what's the common thread here? Primary residence, right? Own your home. Why? Why is that so successful? You got leverage playing into that as well with low down payments and all that kind of stuff. You got that, and then it's an appreciating asset, and so that's at play. But more importantly, it's a forced savings account. Every month you pay, you have X amount of money going to principal, and as more you pay on it, the more it goes to principal. And so that's what's causing a lot of the difference in net worth, okay? So the forced savings account, because whenever you're starting to build wealth, your investment return does not matter, okay? So I'll give you an example on this. I remember when I first started getting into investing, and I was kind of looking at this, and I bought a stock, and I won't go too much into the details on that, but my very first trade. Okay, bought the stock. I spent $300. Okay, $300 on my first stock, and I was stupid and lucky. Okay, 5 days it doubled. I sold it. Okay, I doubled my money. That's awesome. 100% return. Like that's better than Buffett. Okay, then so I sold it. Well, fast forward a little bit, give you a little bit of a future advance. While I'm lucky, that company went bankrupt. So I could have lost it all. So I got, one, didn't know what was really going on in the market at the time when I did it. And then 2, I got lucky on my timing of my sale. And then, so that's part of that, right? So then I took my $600, right? And I was like, okay, I'm going to buy this stock. So I bought that company stock. And I bought it at $5.41, right? And it went down all the way to $1.05. It went down like 80, 90%, right? Whatever percentage that is, right? 80%, I guess. It went down 80%. And one of the things I did know, like, don't invest money that you're not willing to lose, right? Especially if I'm buying, now, individual stocks is how I'd preface that, right? It's like gambling, in a sense. Like, don't go gambling money you can't afford to lose, right? So, it goes all the way down there. I'm like, well, I'm just going to let it ride. It is what it is. I didn't sell it, whatever. Fast forward 2 years later, I sold it for more than double. Okay? So in 3 years, I tripled my money. 3 years, tripled my money. How much money did I have? Actually, I did more than triple, actually.
You invested $300?
Invested $300, got it to 6. Invested the 6 and got it to 12. Right? So 4 times my money, right? So 4 times my money. Made $400, so $900, right? Made $900 on a 300% return. You know how much money I saved actually during that time period? A lot more than that, right? Your investment return doesn't matter when you're first starting out. It's your savings rate that matters, okay? And it feels like a grind because you put whatever money you got is whatever money you put in. That's what it feels like, okay? But keep going through that process. Keep going in time. The compounding will end up turning in your favor, okay? So the common thread between the lower middle class, and upper middle class is that most of their net worth is in their primary residence, okay? All right. Now, where's the wealthy at? The wealthy has 10% of their net worth in their primary residence. 90% is in financial assets, okay? So the foundation, what that means is the foundation to build wealth starts in the home. But to be wealthy, you must invest outside of your home because these financial assets compound at a much faster rate. Okay? Your home, you'll hear Robert Kiyosaki, who's a famous person about it. Your home is a liability, as he calls it, right? So if you really took in all your maintenance and upkeep and your property taxes and homeowners insurance and you factored all that into your cost of the house and everything, you really wouldn't be that far ahead overall, right? So that's why he calls it a liability. So ideally, if you really want to build the most amount of wealth, you would live in a cheap primary residence, right? And you'd have to pay cash for that thing, have that owned free and clear. You own that thing, and that way you can put all your money into maximizing financial assets, right? So, but you have to have a home, you have to have somewhere to live, but that's how it works. And another thing to make sure you're careful of, a lot of people say, well, you need to act like the wealthy, you need to be putting it all in there. No, like the foundation, again, is in your home. The foundation to build wealth is in your home. Start there, because you're going to spend that money somewhere. It's better to put that money, instead of going towards paying somebody else's mortgage, to paying your own, right? All right. So, in conclusion, here's kind of where I want to leave you, right? Appreciate where you are. Because if you don't appreciate where you are, you're not going to appreciate where you get to. Okay? So be thankful for where you are. Where you're starting at right now is where you're meant to be starting at. You need to take that part where you are and decide, this is where I need to be. Now I need to change how I'm behaving to take care of my financial health. Okay? So to recap the four steps to financial health. 1, you got to have a wealth mindset. Okay? 2, you have to have value-oriented goals. Okay? 3, I call it behavior plus processes equals results. Okay? Your behavior plus processes equal your results. That's you investing first and giving first, spending what's left. That's you automating your investments. That's you creating these processes, you having a budgeting system, you doing those different things with it, okay? Real quick also to go back to that on value-oriented mindset, and also to help on your goals and tracking where you are. Every year on the new year, what I want you to do is go over your 5 values again. See if they've changed. See if there's any adjustment there that you need to make. You may have had kids, you may have lost somebody, you may have changed career jobs, or something may have changed. You may have found Christ, you may have found your whatever religion, or you may whatever that may be. those values may have changed, and you need to reevaluate those every year on New Year. Also, the same time you're doing that, you need to do a net worth checkup. Okay? A net worth checkup is taking your assets minus your liabilities equals your net worth. Track that. You got to measure your progress. You got to see how you're coming. It is amazing. When I look back over the years and look at where we were net worth wise, and you're able to, if I wanted to, I could dot that out on a graph. It's amazing to see, and it helps you to stay and realizing the gain that you made and not looking at the gap that you're trying to get to. Okay? All right. So, my wealthy mindset, value-oriented goals, behavior plus processes equals results, and then you got to invest. All right? Those are the steps to great financial health. Now, since we are school, all right, we're parents, our children have to do this. I'm gonna leave you. This is not the end. This is not where I'm done. You have homework. All right? So I'm going to give you 3 books, plus I'll give you a bonus. All right? We love our bonuses, right? I'll grade on a curve maybe, right? So, all right, so the 3 books that you need to read, and I'll read them in this order, okay? Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, okay? This is your pinnacle of money, right? This is what money is meant to be used for and how it's supposed to be used to generate wealth, okay? That's your pinnacle. Second book you read is The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clason, okay? This is your principles. This is things where money, this stuff doesn't change. This stuff has been true for thousands of years and will continue to be true far long after that. So if whatever you're hearing doesn't align with the principles, you need to be careful about that, right? That's tulip bulbs and Bitcoin, okay? Foundation, that you need to set a strong foundation, right? Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey, or I highly recommend it if you can attend Financial Peace University. It's a great thing to do, especially if you're married. Definitely recommend doing the class together. Financial Peace University, you can go online and find local classes that are being done. But Total Money Makeover is the book, and that's your foundation. You know how many people went bankrupt that didn't have debt? There's none. Can't go bankrupt if you don't have debt, right? All right, so you got to have a strong foundation. And then the bonus book I'm going to give you, so you're past all that, you're really wanting to start building, your financial assets, you have your house, you're doing all this different stuff there, you're investing, whatever the case may be. I want you to read The Little Book of Common Sense Investing by John C. Bogle. Okay? Great book. Everything you want to know about, stock market basically is whatever you want to do as far as investing. How should I put my retirement, all that kind of stuff. It's a great book to kind of give you that oversight on how that would work. All right, so with that, I appreciate y'all. If you have any questions, I'll be here. I'm glad to answer them for you.
Yeah, so we're going to proceed with a few questions. I don't know if we have any questions over here.
So, what is your view on just common debt, like retail debt at retail stores, stuff like that, to build credit for people?
Okay. Yeah. So.
And can you repeat the question?
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So the question was, what do I feel about having consumer debt, especially regarding to like retail stores and things like that, to build credit? Okay. So credit's something that definitely is important in your financial health, right? That's something that you need to do. The way I put it, and I love this saying, I heard it from a CPA friend of mine, was like, don't let the tail wag the dog. Okay? So you wanting to build your credit, don't go into debt for the sake of building credit, right? That's not the purpose of why we should go into debt, right? Now, consumer debt is necessary. It's something that I've had in my past, and I do all this stuff. So it's a great question in regards to that. Now, is retail stores or retail store credit, stuff like that, a good way to build credit? No, absolutely not. You want to stick. Credit cards are an amazing way to build credit, but it's a double-edged sword. You got to make sure you don't get cut. Like you got to make sure that you can properly manage the credit card, which means you pay it off monthly. I mean, there's no reason to carry debt, okay? So there's a belief that you must spend money on a credit card and carry a balance for it to build your credit, okay? That's a myth. That is not how it works. Carrying a balance can actually negatively hurt your credit because there's a thing called credit utilization, which is how much of my available credit am I spending on this, and the higher your spending of your available credit, your higher your credit utilization is, the worse it is for your credit, okay? Now, the myth into it where it's best to carrying a balance is because you're getting that payment history. And that's a part of your credit is your payment history. Now, if you owe zero, how much is your payment? Zero. Did you make your payment on time?
No.
Yes, you did. There's no your payment. Your payment was you owed zero. Your payment is zero. So you so that doesn't matter. So now credit card debt is amazing for building credit. The primary reason, if you're using it wisely, you're paying it off every month, you're keeping your credit utilization low, is because it's open-ended credit. So open-ended credit means it does not close unless you, the consumer, request it to be closed or the creditor decides to close it. Other than that, it'll be open. You can have a credit card open for 30 years, right? So your average age of your credit history, which is very important, ideally you always want to try to be above 7 years is what you're like to get like 800 credit score level. You need to have it for over 7 years. So credit cards are really the only way you can get there, right? Auto loans, we just said, are 68 months. Well, that's a closed-end credit. So whenever you pay that off, that thing goes away. It's no longer part of your history, and therefore you're having that issue. So that answer your question. So credit card is great for building credit if you can properly manage it, pay it on time, pay it off every month, and keep your credit utilization low. Avoid retail cards. Stick with bank-specific credit cards. Chase, Capital One, Discover, Bank America. Those bank cards, not the retail cards. So is that?
I actually have two questions. My first question is, if someone is wanting to invest but at the same time has a lot of debt, what would you recommend first? To pay off the debt, and I was in this situation, and I know that maybe a lot of parents are in this situation. Would you recommend to pay off the debt first before you start investing? And I know Dave Ramsey talks about this in 7 steps, but could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, awesome. Great question. So the question is, should you invest if you're in debt, right? And then if you are, how would you go about it, right? What would you do? So and Dave Ramsey was referenced in that question. Like, in Dave Ramsey views is that you should not invest really at all if you have any debt excluding your mortgage. That's Dave Ramsey belief, right? I don't subscribe to that same belief. I differ from Dave Ramsey in that sense. Now, I kind of mentioned it a little bit during the presentation, but if you have high interest debt, absolutely not, right? You need to get rid of the high interest debt first. And if you want to know how to pay off debt, Dave Ramsey is spot on. Like the debt snowball, people have been doing debt consolidations. People have been paying high interest rate debt first. I've seen all the different methods. I can tell you right now, the debt snowball is the best way to pay off debt. Okay, which debt snowball, read the book, go to class. But debt snowball is paying the smallest debt that you owe first, taking that debt payment that you're making to that one to pay more towards your next smallest debt, taking that and you snowball your debt into it and you pay it off. And it's behavior is 80% finance, is behavior, not knowledge. So that's why that's so successful. Now, where I differ from Dave Ramsey is I think it's okay as long as you don't have high interest debt. Okay, and where that is you have a secured loan debt, then that's typically fine. So secured loans are going to be your mortgages, your auto loans. Those are your secured loans typically, but it could be a savings secured loan. It could be any of these secured loan products that are out there. I think you're good to invest, okay? And I do think you need to invest because a lot of investing is discipline, right? So you got to develop that behavior, that discipline of to invest the money first instead of investing what's left, okay? And so I like that idea of like, let's go ahead and start the behavior of, giving and investing early on. The earlier you can do that and develop that muscle and that discipline, the better it's going to be. Okay. So yeah, if you have an auto loan, I would still start investing. And then once that auto loan's paid off, try your best to take that money that you were spending on that auto loan, and then I would snowball that into your investing. Because again, I did this with my first auto loan that I paid off. So I had an auto loan, paid it off. I took the monthly payment that I was spending and I invested it instead. Okay, and so when you do that, my plan was I was going to pay cash for my next car with the money that I invested, and I could take whatever I made on it, whatever I had in the bank at that time when I'm ready to buy a new car, I can take it, right? So I was putting, I think it was like $250 a month into the investment account. 5 years later, whatever it was, the account ended up being worth $15,000 or something like that, okay? 5 to 7 years later. Did I want to sell it? Did I want to sell my stock, my investments, to go pay cash for a car? No, absolutely not. So what I do, I go and bought another cheap car. It's like I went and bought another one for like $4,000 because I didn't want to touch my money that's in my investment account because now it's worth $15,000. Why don't I just keep doing that? And then, and at the time, really, when I first did it, I was like, can I buy my dream car for $15,000? Because I was still kind of caught up in that consumerism mindset where I wanted a nice car, I want to care what people think about me, my insecurity on that, all that kind of stuff. So spending, by the way, on those kind of things is a form of insecurity. That's really why we do it, is because we're insecure. So I was like, no, I could keep that in there and I can buy me, Porsche if I just do this for another 10 years. I can pay cash for a Porsche. And then now you fast forward and it's like, God, I ain't touching that thing for nothing. I'm going to let that keep riding. And I don't care what car I drive. It doesn't matter. So my mindset changed. So that's the reason why you do that. So if you're paying cash for the car, you're going to be really selective on what you're paying for because you don't want to, one, you understand losing the opportunity cost of the investment money that you did. And two, the pain of spending money in cash is much higher than if you just went and signed a piece of paper for a loan and you're making monthly payments on it, right? So, yeah, I would invest. Long story short, I would invest as long as you have no high interest debt. I would go ahead and start doing that process.
And the other question is,
and so, real quick, I'm sorry. Student loans fall into that category. I would invest even if it is student loans.
The other question is, if I want to start a business, or if a parent wants to start a business, how much risk? Because any business is going to be a risk. I mean, at the end of the day, how much risk should someone handle or be willing to take if they have some debt, but they want to start that business because they believe that business can lead to additional income?
Yeah. Oh, that's a tough question. All right, so to reiterate it, the question is, what do I do if I'm looking to invest into a business, to start a business, when you already have existing debt? So that's the question, right? It's a tough question. I personally, I'm much more risk averse. I'm much more asymmetrical risk. Okay, what's my upside compared to what's my downside, right? I like the lower the risk, the better. As far as I pretty much have a good guarantee on that kind of deal. Like I kind of have an understanding of what that is based on historical. Now, when you start going into starting a business, there's a lot of unknown in that, right? And then the way I look at it is, I personally would not take out a personal or business loan to start a business. Now, I say that with some caveats. If it's something like you're going to start a lawn mowing business, right? And you need to go spend $3,000 on a lawnmower, and you need to go get a loan for a lawnmower. I'm a little different on that. That's an established business. It's something that's already known. You already have a pretty good idea. It's not a complicated business, and so you can figure that out, right? Or if you've been in the industry for a long time and you really know the industry, and you already have maybe established clientele, then that would be a different situation, right? So let's say you're a roofer, right? And or no, let's do this. Like, let's say you're an IT technician, right? And you work for a company, and you're an IT tech, and now they're like, well, if I went and started my own business, would y'all hire me as a consultant? And they much rather get you off their payroll, and they're okay with opening you up to where they have to share you with other clients. Then that would be a great option too. So you may have to go buy some stuff, or maybe have to take out a loan to help carry yourself over for that time to be able to build up that cash flow, right? So there's some caveats to it. So I'd say honestly, it's like a case by case situation, and one that you really need to sit down with a financial advisor, CPA, somebody that can also help you with that decision making. My first instinct is I wouldn't. I personally would try to get myself in the best financial situation possible, and then grow the business organically through cash or money that I have. And you take crawl before you start. Like, a lot of people want to, when they start a business, they don't want to crawl. They want to go straight to wherever their end goal is, instead of doing all that, and that can actually be detrimental for you. So like, I know a business that they could have easily started off as a retail storefront, but they didn't do that. They started off as a mobile thing first, or they started off with catering first, and then mobile stuff, and then doing events and things like that. And they worked themselves up to that point. They crawled, started walking, then they running. Now they've opened multiple locations, doing that kind of thing, right? So I always say do it the way with the least amount of risk that you can.
Okay.
Profit first.
Awesome, thank you. Any more questions?
All right.
All right. Well, before we leave, of course, I wanted to thank you very much,
Yeah.
John. Thank you so much, and thank you, parents who have been watching this video. I encourage you to share it with other people, with family members, people that you know that might need some extra help in managing their finances. But on behalf of Longview ISD, thank you so much, John, for your time, for your wisdom, and for sharing your knowledge with all of us.
I enjoyed it.
Awesome.
Thank
well,
you.
thank you so much, and we'll see you again in the next time. Thank you so much.